Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Pete with HDWerks here. Today we're going to go through a couple of the builds that we have going on today. Several GTRs. I have some Evo headwork that we're going to be doing. All sorts of treats going on. Stick around though, you're watching HDWerks. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button also. We're gonna kind of go over all the little nuances of what's happening in the shop today. I'm gonna start here with Big Bird. Last week, if you haven't watched episode 1 of our vlog series, go check that out. We started painting some of these parts in this car, and finally it's out of the booth, and now we're doing some of the generic reassembly. Once this is up in the air, we're gonna end up powder coating all the underside and the subframes and everything, but everything is done, all painted in one shot. Hood's done, rockers are done, engine bay's completely done. All the little pieces that are supposed to be black or trim black are already trim black. Headlights are restored. All little stuff that you can't buy or can buy, but it's too expensive. It's kind of done. Trunk is done, wing is on. It's looking good. We have to reassemble the doors, which is a project in itself. And then they go and everything kind of gets realigned and put back in the car. And then we have the motor to go in the car. This is Justin's motor. So the block is from his car originally. When it came in here, it had low compression, didn't run right, missing a couple cylinders. Didn't have any holes in the block, but it was no bueno. Got the head to the machine shop. Head was like completely twisted and warped. We actually had to get a brand new head. So we bought a brand new head. This is an 05U, so brand new, never been ran on a car before. These are his original valve covers. Got some PRP gear going on here, obviously. Some timing components. This is actually a N1 pump with PRP billet gears in it. And then this is a full main integrated brace with 1/2-inch main studs. So this thing should be able to take every bit of the sauce you could ever want to throw at it, and then probably a little bit more without any damage. I think the car is going to break and rip in half before anything happens to this block. So it should make about 900,000 for the street. Should be super, super fun, but also be able to drive with AC on, which is super nice. A little bit of midnight purple action on the valve cover, and then this color is going to continue on to the brakes and some of the trims of the car. But this is it. We're almost done. I just have to put this general area together, and then we'll start putting the manifold on from Artec with a Garrett turbo, and then I have to make all the piping. We have a Thai catback from Tomei, but I have to make basically everything else from scratch. And then that goes in the car, and then we're gonna start doing all the electronics and the hull tech and the fuel system and the really, really, really fun stuff. So when this car leaves, it's gonna be a one-of-one, perfect, restored R33 GTR V-Spec. Really, really cool color, and we have some LMGT4s going on this too with R35 brakes. So it is like the coolest shit that you can get on a 33 in yellow. So it'll be a really, really neat car. So stick around for this one. Let's move on to some other cars. Something I wanted to show you really quick. We just got some Boostline connecting rods for the yellow Evo that we're building. 150 mil rods with the 625 hardware. They should be able to hold up to any abuse that we throw at them. If you have used them in any of your builds, comment below. Let me know what you think about them. We're eager to try them out. We are doing a little bit of a sentimental project with this particular client that has done some other work with us also. And he came to me and he's like, hey, can you build this SRT for me? I said, sure, because we'd actually done a few of them. We did one last year for my buddy Sal. We have a whole package ready to go for him. New suspension, new wheels. We did a full restoration on the car. Engine bays painted, front bumpers all fixed. You can't even buy the front bumper anymore. We wanted to put some boost into the motor. We know the stock rods and pistons aren't the greatest thing on the planet. We actually got another motor out of a PT Cruiser that was super, super low miles. So stock bore is perfect. Took it apart, just did pistons and rods, got the head refurbished. We did valves, springs, retainers, and then we'll slap this back together. I have an Argenary turbo that's gonna go on here. We'll Cerakote a couple things in the back of the motor. I have a valve cover, just gloss black, and then this pink color is from Tropical Glitz. We'll go throughout the car on the brake calipers. We have Willwood calipers going in the front. You'll be able to see the pink there, and we have a really nice strut bar that's gonna go across the top. That'll be in the pink color, not too much, but just enough to bring this color throughout the rest of the build. It'll be a really, really nice, clean car that he can drive around and enjoy. And do a couple little burnouts with it, make 400, 450 horsepower. It'll be a little burnout machine for sure. But that's it. This is the SRT. Hey guys, so now this particular one, this is an R32 GTR. We did a 33, so now let's do a 32. This is my buddy Sal's car, built motor, pretty simple setup, plasma intake. We're gonna do a drive-by-wire throttle body, really sick fuel system in this car, some radium parts, some swirl pots. This was actually kind of in progress before a lot of the companies made the all-in-one tanks. Zona rotor, some Turbo Smart, a lot of PRP goodies in the front here, all timed with HKS gears, ready to rock. So I know this engine harness looks like a little bit of a mess, but I'll take them all apart, and anything that I need to add into it, oil pressure sensor, fuel pressure sensor, drive-by-wire stuff in this particular car. Full Haltech integration also, Elite 2500, we have the dash. It's gonna be all-wheel drive controlled in the Haltech. All the bells and whistles that I can possibly do with the Haltech are gonna be done with this particular car. Fuel system, fans, you name it. Also, this is all titanium piping on the intercooler section, custom intercooler, custom oil cooler setup in this car, and then all of the coolant lines from the plasma intake manifold have to run into this custom swirl pot that we made. That's a super cool little unit, lots of neat little lines. And then all the piping is mocked up, but it's not done. But I'm gonna be on this probably for an entire week, finish welding all this stuff and polishing it. But it's all Vangean clamps from Tycon and Vibrant. Everything kind of snaps together. On the throttle body side and the turbo side into the intercooler, everything just clamps on. There's no silicone hose clamps at all. Everything just snaps together. So once this car is done, it should do probably the 800 horsepower range is gonna be the number for it. But I want them to enjoy it. I want it to be fast and spool good and sound good. So watch out for this one coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So you may ask yourself what I'm exactly looking at here. This is an RB26, but I'm inspecting these exhaust ports because number 5 here decided to eject all of its exhaust fluid into the engine bay. Half of this is oil, half of this is the 85, and half of this is coolant. So this motor is no bueno. Luckily, it did not window mod itself. But most likely the head gasket has separated and or something, or the block is cracked possibly internally. We have to take it apart and find out. Either way, this customer needs a new long block assembly for sure. Hopefully the head's good still, but we're gonna take that off in the next couple weeks here. If it's good and flat, we'll rebuild that. And then we're going to get a short block direct from PRP from the other side of the world. And we will reassemble here and slap it back in the car. All the fab work is done. Should be a quick turnaround, not too complicated. This is not what it's supposed to look like at all. A lot of you guys have been asking for the PRP discount code. Discount code is in the description below. In this video here, it'll take you right to the website. The discount will automatically be uploaded into your cart. You can select anything that you'd like and check out, and it'll go right to your door. Right here, guys, we have a 90 Mitsubishi Galant VR4 right-hand drive from Japan. Extremely rust-free, really straight car, extremely original, nice interior, original engine. We wanted to just upgrade it a smidge though, so we made some nice custom intercooler piping, upgraded turbo, Cerakoted an exhaust manifold, did some timing service. We have to do a clutch and an exhaust next. Custom front mount intercooler we made for it from scratch, custom power steering cooler we made from scratch, and we're doing a basic Haltech in this car, and it should be a nice 350, 400 horsepower car, just something else that we do here at HDWerks. Oh, one more other thing. The DSM market in the United States never had these cyclone intake manifolds, and there's really nothing crazy about them. They just have a dual runner inside them. So down low, you get a little bit more torque because there's a little flapper in there that slaps it around and changes the velocity of your intake manifold. And then once you're up in the higher RPM range, it'll flip it to the other side and it'll give you some better air movement. We're gonna enable it to work and integrate directly into the Haltech, so we'll have control of when it actually flips around in the Haltech with the solenoid, just like we did the Evo 4 factory anti-lag that nobody said would work, but we got it to work. This one will work with the Haltech as well, and there'll be a whole section in there just for that. So stick around for more of this car. All right, so now that we've walked around the shop, I gave you an update of what we have going on in most of these cars. We're gonna kind of get down to the nitty-gritty of what we have here for us today. This is an R34 GTR V-Spec off the boat. Okay, so if you're looking at putting an R34 or any GTR together, or any car for that matter, we have a little build series Right here, if you want to take a look at that, that'll kind of give you a breakdown of what it takes to get it done from start to finish. But before any of that happens, this particular job right here that I'm doing today is where it starts. We're going to do a health check on this GTR, see where it lies, see what we need to do, and then kind of get a ballpark of what needs to happen. And then I can go to my client and give him the lowdown on what it's going to take to get him from point A to point B to a nice drivable car that sounds good, feels good, and starts like a Civic. Okay, so I'm gonna take this apart, take the plugs out of it. We're gonna do a compression test. We're gonna do a leak down test. Obviously, we'll do a visual inspection, see what's going on here. I already test drove this car. It runs extremely okay, but at idle, it's very lumpy. We may have clog injectors, bad gas, who knows? There's a myriad of things that's going on. But at number one, we're gonna do a compression test. That's gonna tell me if we have a bad cylinder on low compression. It might be good when the motor's spinning faster, but at low RPMs, it may not have enough compression and it'll really ignite the fire inside the cylinder. That's why I might have a lumpy idle. That's kind of what my gut is telling me before I take this apart. So I'm gonna take this coil harness off. This is actually a T-harness for this HKS twin power unit. I have never ever in any platform had any luck with these things. They've almost never worked out of the box, so I've literally never seen one that worked. So we're just gonna assume that it doesn't and not put it back in. Good practice is always, before you take any plugs out of anything that you're working on ever, if you have some air, blow this whole area out in the spark plug area. I've seen it a million times where dudes will undo the coils and take the spark plug out, and whatever trash is laying in this area will go directly into the combustion chamber because we didn't just take 2 seconds and blow it out. So might as well blow it out. When in doubt, blow it out. Okay, let's take these off. It's all right, it's not too bad. Looking pretty good so far. This is my favorite. I get to see if these are actually tight. My guess is gonna be that they're not tight. So we're gonna, but hopefully they are. So let's find out. Okay, not tight enough. I can guarantee you that. Let's find this one. Yeah, like hand tight. Completely loose, this will make the car run like absolute shit. You have to tighten these all the way down. This is definitely a you all need to stop moment. Let's try number 3. Let's see how many of these are loose completely. This is, okay, almost no pressure. Like these are like finger tight in here. Let's see, number 4. Yep, finger tight, of course. Let's go for number 5. Finger tight. Last one, finger tight. Yep, okay, so that right there may just be why the car is running like shit too. So again, this is why we do this. This is why we take it apart and see what's going on. I'll let you see these plugs here in a second. They look terrible, but let's see them all next to each other. So this one, this is number 2. So I noticed it running and idling a little funky. Like it almost had a miss. So this is number 2, a little bit wet. Smells like oil, a lot of corrosion on the electrode. So this may be our culprit here in number 2. The motor overall sounded good when you got on it, but this will make it idle very weird. So this is number 2. 6 is decent. 5, 4, 3, 2 is black. 1 is on its way. So it might be in the front too, if anything's going on. And again, this could be in the head too, but we're gonna find out here in a second. This is a 2-man operation. Okay, that's that. Let me guess. Oh, big surprise, there's no injector clips. Gonna call that. Okay, so obviously when you're cranking the motor, you don't want any fuel squirting in there, so either disconnect your ECU completely, because we don't want anything going into the combustion chamber and flooding anything out. So we're gonna set this to 0, make sure it's loose, and I'm gonna crank it. Okay, we got, we'll say 125 on number 1. Not amazing, not terrible, somewhere in the middle. But this is the first step, basically, when you're trying to build one of these, is figure out what's going on with the motor, check the health. If it's good, then we can move forward. If it's not, then we got to talk about building the motor. And that usually puts some time and some money on it, but it is necessary because it won't be any good if we don't address the heart of the car. So let's do number 2. Okay, same thing, 125. Number 3, here we go. $125 on the nose. This is looking pretty good so far. Okay. If these compression numbers are all good and uniform across the board, like I said, it might be that piece of shit twin power HKS unit that is keeping this thing from actually igniting the spark at low RPM. Or it could be one of the coils. Also, the coils are just the stock coils. They're very prone to failure. We would upgrade that to a PRP kit at some point. But we at least want to know what we got going on. So let's do number 4. And again, if it still runs like crap, 125 again, which is good. If it still runs like crap, then we can look at maybe cleaning the injectors. We know these cars sit sometimes for years on end. It obviously looks like it's been sitting for some time, so it could have a clogged injector for sure. And that'll help it not atomize at idle, which will give you a lumpy, kind of inconsistent idle. All right, what we got? A little low. So this is like 115. Not the end of the world, but definitely a little bit low. I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's not consistent with the others so far. Let's see. Yeah, same thing. So the back two are about 115. All the fronts are at 125. And it could have something to do with me also. The battery's not the strongest thing in the world, so it's not spinning as fast, but most likely it's just a little bit lower on compression in the back. So this motor is kind of teetering on the point of rebuild. But it could also be a head, the valve's not sealing properly. We're gonna continue digging just a little bit. I shouldn't show you what these are, but it's for testing purposes only. These are auto lights, but they're the correct plug for the car, and they do cross over, and they're iridium, but there's just a test. I would never run these in this car. Either Denso's or the NGKs, either way, but these are just for testing. So we got nice new plug, crusty old plug. I'm gonna pop these in there. I also found, and it's good to have extra parts laying around. This is why I like being a hoarder, but hate being a hoarder at the same time. I have some OKD coils laying around. I want to see if it makes a difference at idle, see if this improves the spark, and I found an OEM R34 harness laying around. Let's slap these plugs in there. Now I'm going to make sure that I make them finger tight only, and then we're going to reassemble it and start it. So finger tight only, just finger tight. We don't use a wrench on them at all, just finger tight. What I normally do is I just kind of get the thread started a little bit, and then I'll chase them down with the wrench, and then I'll show you my torque to yield spec that I have stored in my brain for spark plugs. There probably is an actual spec for most plugs, but I can usually tell when the washer crushes, and that's kind of the point where you want to be. You want to be where you feel the crush washer crushing, and then it doesn't move anymore. And so in a very, very small window, but these, when they came out, they were not there. You saw, I cracked them loose really lightly. They were all like that. So that will make the car run like shit if they're not actually all the way down. You're losing compression over time in that. And then actually, if they're too loose, it will actually vibrate in the hole, and then the hole will oblong itself in the threads, and the threads will literally, with the spark plug, eventually just rip out and jettison itself through the hood. So, spark plug's tight. Tip of the day. Let's get this HKS power unit out of here.
really quick. Looks like they have it grounded to a rubber grommet, which is super. Oh, this is a good y'all need to stop moment. Here you go. Perfect. So this is the ground to the HKS ignition amplifier. But never in a million years is that a good ground. Nothing on rubber, so metal on metal, chassis to whatever you're trying to ground it to. That is this is a I'm asleep type of moment right here. Even though there's 9,000 other grounds in a million other places all around it. And then they have it also bolted to the ABS module. I can't make it up. Okay. Again, not going crazy. I just want to see if I can get the car to run right. Nissan, in their infinite wisdom, have this dipstick underneath the plenum here. And if this cover's off of it like it is, I've seen people take this out and then lay it across this positive, and then they start welding, and they don't understand why. So, but oil looks good though. Looks clean actually. Level's up there. A little bit too full if anything, but the level's super clean though. It's good. 1, 2, 3, go. See how it's kind of shaking still? I don't love it. Definitely has an exhaust leak in the back. You can hear it. It's like farting around back there. We'll have to address that separately. But still not smooth though. So an easy way to see which cylinder is messy is by one by one taking one of these off. Not that one. Okay, runs. Almost no change in number 2 at all. Almost no change. Kind of a little bit of a change. Not much at all. So I do 3 here. Now we have a hard change. Now it's making a noticeable difference, right? I'm gonna say, my guess is that this one's clogged right here, to a certain extent. Because it almost has no change when you plug it back in or when you take the coil on and off here on number 2. That's my educated guess. And that's that exhaust valve, or excuse me, that's the exhaust gasket in the back there. One of them is all screwy back there. Under acceleration, when I blip the throttle, it's even. If it was a dead cylinder under acceleration, it would drop out. After when the coils was bad, under acceleration, it would still have that miss. Under acceleration, it's good. And it comes down evenly. But at idle, we have an issue. So I'm gonna say one of these is super clogged. It's probably number 2. That's my educated guess. So we're gonna get those cleaned.
What's up guys, it's Korey with HDWerks. Today I have a few updates from the paint booth on both Big Bird, the yellow R33 GTR I was painting last episode, as well as this 34 that you've probably seen in the background. This 34 GTR V-Spec came to us kind of how you see it now, a little more put together, had the interior all assembled and stuff, really had no body panels, but it needs the works on this thing. It looks like it was originally a midnight purple car that was painted blue, and then to import it had to go back to purple. You can tell by looking at the car, the color is not the right one, but it was close enough, I guess, to get it here. So the whole body is super wavy, nothing was done right, it was just really half-assed. We're painting the interior of it, painting underneath the car, engine bay, the entire body, redoing everything. So anything that you could essentially think of is getting done. All right, so moving on from the 34, I'm sure you heard Pete giving you the rundown on the engine build and the plans for Big Bird here. We got most of the body panels painted. I got a few more things to wrap up. It should look super cool rolling down the road. I mean, everything's done inside and out, so there's nothing you can open on the car and be like, oh, they missed a spot. You know what I mean? So everything's gonna look super nice, well put together. It's just gonna be proper, you know?
All right, guys, we're gonna move on a little bit today to the Evo section of my day. We spent a little bit of time diagging the R34 GTR. Now I have to assemble this head. Here at HDWerks, we do a lot of kind of shifting back and forth and dividing our time between projects because we have a lot going on.
So I need to efficiently as I can move around the shop. So today I wanted to do two things in my roster. I wanted to diag that car, and I wanted to do assemble this head for our Evo IX that we're going to upgrade the head on. So I'm just going to disassemble these cams, get the cam sensors off of here, and then I'm going to show you how to bleed and clean your lifters a little bit, lubricate them, and then we're going to I'm going to slide the cams in here and reassemble the head and get it ready to go back on the car. Okay, here we go. All right, now let's open up our head. We get this done locally. They do a competition valve job for us. These are +1 valves from GSC. Intake and exhaust, their top level stuff. Their best springs, actually, there's one level above their best seat pressure springs that they have. This is a street car, so I didn't want to go too bananas, so it's one right underneath that. That'll be perfect for our S2 cams. And then that's all done here locally. This was actually turned around in 24 hours, believe it or not. They come and pick it up for me, and they bring it right back, all done, resurfaced, ready to rock. It definitely helps that I have the parts when I send it down there. A lot of times it takes some time because they don't have the parts, but I always make sure that we source them before I even take the car apart. All right, so let's get this out of the plastic. If you ever have a head or you run into a situation where you need to get one done and you don't know how many times it's been resurfaced, most heads have a mark like right in this area where you can see how flush it is, right? So if they grind it down a couple times, this will get closer and closer to level. The closer to level it is, the older it is, and how many, you can kind of tell how many times it's been resurfaced, once, twice, 3 times. But this one I think is fairly brand new. This is probably the first time it's ever been done. So we are going to flip this over. My guys always stamp our name in it, so if it came from me, there's a stamp in here. It says HDWerks on it. I'm gonna lay this down here. Don't ever do this with cams in it because you'll actually be pushing them out. But I want to show you the valve springs in here. These are all from GSC. Seats, retainers, the whole 9 yards, all titanium. Really, really nice stuff. And then I'm going to show you how to bleed your lifters, so they're all nice and cleaned out when you go to put this all back together. We don't know exactly how long they've been in the car, what kind of trash is in the lifters. I always like to at least pump them out a little bit, get the gunk out of them, make sure they're clean going in a brand new fresh head. So when we disassemble the head, I always put them in a bucket of oil regardless. So they're completely soaked the entire time. There's no chance of any debris or junk getting in them, sitting around in the dust or even a bag or anything. I just put them in here so they're completely submerged all the time. Nice and clean, brand new cup. And I'm gonna basically take these one at a time and bleed them. These are hydraulic lifters, so there's a check valve inside. So this is actually a Mitsubishi timing tensioner pin. It's actually perfect for this also, so thanks Mitsubishi. This ends up going into the bottom and you'll feel a little relief. Maybe it's a little crooked here, give me a second. There's a little spot in the bottom where, yep, see, now it goes up and down because I'm pressing a check valve. So what I do now is I hold this assembly, and you can actually see, I don't know if you can get this, Jared, it's squirting out little tiny puffs of darker oil. Yeah, that's pretty solid. So they shouldn't move much or much at all. They should be pretty solid once they're all done up like this. So then I take, after I've cleaned them out a little bit, then I just take this, lube it up, and slide them down into their respective spots 16 times.
I know this seems a little bit messy, but I like to make sure that we're all lubricated when we put this stuff back together. And I usually leave it set up like this overnight so any kind of oil would drain, any excess anyway will drain down and away from the head and the mating surface. All right, so now we're at the point where we're gonna put the camshafts in the head with the cam caps. The cam caps are in a specific order. They are lined up. I already figured out the order. They're always stamped. So if you forget how they came off and you didn't take a picture, they're always usually stamped I 1 through 4 or 5 or 6 and E 1 through 4, 5, 6 right on here. And then they only really go on the head one way. So if it doesn't feel right, it isn't, don't do that. It's kind of process of elimination if you forget where they came from. GSC S2 billet cams. GSC billet S2, this is the intake one. And this is for Myvec. You can see it has the oil passages in here. Okay, these are really nice billet S2s from GSC. Get some good oil in here. Make sure everything's nice and lubricated. Clean your caps, obviously ahead of time. Make sure there's no junk or debris or schmegma on here. So we're gonna go with intake one first. I'm going to just dab a little bit on the lobes that touch the metal. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the exhaust side. Yeah, this is intake one, so this will be intake 2, 3, 4, 5, and sometimes the last one isn't labeled. All right, so obviously it's not going on like that. So we know it's number 5, and that looks much more appropriate. Never do this with the head flat on the ground. I have a space here. Just very simple, just a little block of wood, and it's not underneath any valves at all. This is number 2. There you go, it's perfect. We always want to make sure there's nothing under this. We're physically pushing the valves out now as I'm turning this. It's actually they're coming out of the bottom. It's okay that they're a little tight, but we don't want any like super binding. So if it's hard, then it's a no-go. Then we got something screwed up. So start from again. But it wanted to yank me, so that means that we are loose enough for it to spin because there's a lot of spring pressure here. So that's a good sign. So I'm going to do it one more time, and then we're going to tighten them up a little bit more. Perfect. I just make them snug. You don't want to go bananas on these, but just from experience, it's about 14 foot-pounds. So now they're all tightened down to about 14 foot-pounds. I'm gonna once more just check and make sure that we are moving. We have some good, nice, easy movement in here. If not, again, we have to go back to the drawing board and see what's going on. This is moving nice and freely, which is good, even though there's a lot of spring pressure. And then since we usually have so much going on here, I like to mark these in any crucial bolt, especially stuff like this, with some sort of marker to be thorough and to not miss stuff, even though you're busy. Enables you to confidently move forward without any mistakes. Okay, head's done. Got a lot of stuff coming up next episode. Donovan's car is almost done. This head is most likely going to be on the Evo IX. We'll have it on the dyno. I'm going to have some updates for Big Bird. The motor will most likely be in that car next episode. All of these will have some definite progress. We have about 8 or 9 cars in the 80% range, so we're going to see a lot of good movement here moving forward. Please subscribe. hit the bell. Make sure you get notifications for all our new stories and new posts. Thanks for watching today. Hopefully this was a little bit educational. You're watching HDWerks.